House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide, and it's time to move on from this Democrat hoax perpetrated by radical left lunatics in order to deflect from the great success of the Republican Party, including our recent victory on the Democrat shutdown. The Department of Justice has already turned over tens of thousands of pages to the public on Epstein and are looking at various Democrat operatives, Bill Clinton, Reid Hoffman, Larry Summers, etc., and their relationship to Epstein, and the House Oversight Committee can have whatever they are legally entitled to. Cool.
President Trump is doing just about every watch a story that just will not go away, the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. And that includes name-calling. Just yesterday, the stunning fallout between him and one of his biggest loyalists intensifies as he attacked MAGA Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene as a, quote, traitor amid her push to release the Epstein files. This after using the power of his government to try to change the focus of the story away from him, demanding a Justice Department probe of Democrats' ties to Epstein, something Attorney General Pam Bondi quickly said she would do, despite DOJ's past assessment that there wasn't evidence worth pursuing. But to Trump's dismay, he's about to face the biggest rebuke from his party of his entire second term, when later this week, scores of House Republicans plan to vote to release the case files, all as some newly released Epstein emails show Trump mentioned by name, though the president has not been accused of any criminal wrongdoing. Still, he made clear this weekend he does not want to discuss any of it.
We think it's bad to talk about it because it gets away from the subject of how well the Republicans are doing. We have the greatest economy. We have the largest investment ever made in our country's history. We have all of these great things happen. When you talk about the Epstein hoax, what happens is you're not talking about how well we've done. This is a hoax put out by the Democrat, and a couple of few Republicans have gone along with it because they're weak and ineffective. But this is a Democrat hoax to get away from the fact that they just lost the shutdown and they've lost the elections. They've lost the big election, to me, in a record number.
All right, we have an excellent panel to break this all down. Let's go. Politico's Dasha Burns, CNN's Jeff Zeleny, CNN's Isaac Dover, and the Washington Post, Mariana Sotomayor. Good morning to you all.
Good morning.
Nice to see you all. Okay, so when Marjorie Taylor Greene first came to Washington in 2021 as an unflinching Trump loyalist, someone who was MAGA through and through, wore a MAGA hat to the State of the Union on the House floor, and now Trump is putting out messages like this over the last several days, calling her a ranting lunatic, saying she's gone far left, she's a disgrace to our Republican Party, she's betrayed the entire Republican Party, she turned left, and then calling her a traitor just yesterday. Okay, first of all, wow.
Wow.
I was not expecting that. What is he trying to do here? Is it just to send a message to the rest of the party they will not take even an ounce of dissension here?
Well, I think the big concern here is Marjorie Taylor Greene could be creating a permission structure for other Republicans, other MAGA Republicans, to start to disagree with the president, to buck him on some of these critical issues. I mean, look, Epstein opened the door, right? And it's still one of the biggest concerns for the White House in terms of how these votes are going to go in the House and then in the Senate. But Epstein, followed by some dissension on the president's foreign policy. Now, most recently, the suggestion of a 50-year mortgage. Even Fox News, Newsmax, influencers on the right are against that policy. We are seeing these fractures among the base that is just not something that the White House, especially President Trump himself, is used to.
Yeah, and it's, you know, is it just what Trump always does here, which is anytime there's someone who criticizes him, he goes after them, whether it's Liz Cheney or any other. You can go back down the line of Bob Corker, and for many, many years, this has been his MO. Is
Shut
it
up,
different,
Chatters.
though, because it's MTG and who she represents?
I mean, I think
I'm posting about Rick Scott. I said if Mike Johnson was sincere about tackling Medicaid and Medicare fraud, instead of cynically using that line as a way to gut Medicaid by $800 million, they would offer you the maximum punishment since you engaged in record-breaking Medicare fraud. Calm down. I'm responding to Rick Scott, who is apparently crying about me on the timeline. Rick Scott, this deranged person urged his followers to me. Don't do it. Wait, why? I didn't say anything wrong here. I said if Mike Johnson was sincere about tackling Medicare and Medicaid fraud, instead of cynically using that line as a way to gut Medicaid by $800 million, they would offer you engage in record-breaking Medicare fraud. Or not $800 million, $800 billion, right? What the? I said 800. I said 800 million. It's actually by 800 billion. Shit. Oh, good call. I almost it up. You're not as witty as you think. Don't say a non-specific they. It'll be spun more easily. True. Republicans, maximum legal punishment since you engaged in record-breaking Medicare fraud. There's no way it's 800 billion. Fact check before posting. No, dummy. Rick Scott's Medicare fraud was 1.7 billion, but Republicans were gutting Medicaid or have gut Medicaid by 800 billion. That is correct. Okay, now you don't know what you are talking about. The 800 billion that we're talking about is the new bill that just passed, okay? The new bill that just passed. In a defense of this new bill that just passed, right up until that bill was passed, that would gut Medicaid by $800 billion, the defense from Mike Johnson was, oh, we're fighting against Medicare and Medicaid fraud. That is the BBB. Here, in the BBB. Is that better? It's actually 880 billion. Okay, Christ, here.
Actions of the president are similar. I mean, we knew, obviously, as she has been sort of rising in her prominence, going on The View in recent weeks and really going after Speaker Johnson, and then really not backing down at all on the Epstein matter and other things. It's not just that. What I'm sort of struck by in this is her criticism is pretty broad-based. She's talking about affordability.
Healthcare.
She's talking about... Exactly. And things that look like, I still support you. She always sort of phrases it with, I still like the president, but. And those buts are getting pretty significant. So, Dasha, to your point about the permission structure, that is going to be interesting to see how many Republicans obviously join the ranks of voting to release the Epstein files. The White House still wants to keep that number down, but the reality is they know that there's very little
Are they going to push
with
very
it.
hard to try to do that this week? Or are they
It's unclear. The pressure campaign last week to try and get Lauren Boebert to not sign the discharge petition, it failed spectacularly, and it was sort of an embarrassment. I mean, having a rank-and-file member of Congress over to the White House in the Situation Room complex to have this meeting, she ended up not removing her name from it. So we will see what the numbers are, but I am told the White House is still trying to keep them somewhat in check. We'll see if that's 75 Republicans, 100 Republicans. That would be extraordinary, but you just get the sense that things are a little bit different now. It's too early to call the president a lame duck, there's no doubt, but you can just get the sense that things are slightly
That's what's really scary for
different.
this White House about this is the duck period is looming here, and I think this gives that little flavor of it.
And it could be a window into the post-Trump era. Here's what MTG said about in responding to all of this. Among the things that she said the Americans wish he would fight this hard to help the forgotten men and women who are fed up with foreign wars and foreign causes, are going broke trying to feed their families, and are losing hope of achieving the American dream. That's what I voted for. Is she more in line with the base in some ways than Trump?
Well, look, I think the problem that she's hitting at here is that Donald Trump has not been able to answer the question why. Why is he fighting so hard to keep these files from being released? He's not explained that. He's also not explained why prices are not down when his entire campaign was really based on that idea that he would be attacking prices. And he has said, oh, maybe it's the leftover from the Biden days, but we are 10 months into the Trump presidency, and prices, it's not like they've stayed high, they've gotten higher. People are seeing electricity bills that are higher, they're seeing grocery prices that are higher, and the public seems to be associating that with the tariffs, and certainly Donald Trump does too, given that he despite this argument that the tariffs are because of a national emergency situation, that's how he gets around the law, and that he can just do it himself, is just...
I don't know if you see this, but I just want to thank you for all you do. I feel like a lot of things are lining up to allow our country to wake up and actually move forward as a society, and part of that is because you kept pushing through the hate and the harassment. All of it, so that you do inspires a lot of people to also just push. Good. Are you drinking Pepsi in a coffee mug? No, it's coffee in a coffee mug. I've had like 18 cups of coffee already. It's not good.
Haphazardly lowering them, including on the groceries in the last couple of days, just saying we're going to make coffee cheaper. Well, if the tariffs are getting rid of the tariffs and making coffee and other food and meat cheaper, then the tariffs made that food higher, the prices higher. And so that when Marjorie Taylor Greene hits on these things, it is this like, I thought that Donald Trump was saying he was the fighter for these things, and he has not shown it in her mind.
Yeah, and this is obviously comes ahead of this vote that's happening, we expect on Tuesday in the House to call for the release of the Epstein files. The Republican leadership was forced to do this despite the push by the White House attorney. This effort for months. Now it is finally coming to a head on the House floor. But look, I want to first look at the polling about where the public stands at large about the issue of the Epstein files. Overall, just 19% of the public approve of Trump's handling of this, and that includes just 10% of independents. But that Republican number is pretty interesting. 44% of Republicans approve of Trump. I mean, that is unusual because typically Trump's like the 90% on most issues when it comes to Republicans. It's 44%. But it also speaks to why we expect in the House a significant number of Republicans to break ranks here. What are you hearing from your reporting in whether they can reach that critical threshold, which is 290, which is a veto-proof majority in the House? What is the likelihood of that?
I think it is possible, and the reason why is because the Epstein issue remains the single seen Republicans publicly flip on the president, publicly not attack him necessarily, but want to continue releasing the files. I mean, there are a number of even vulnerable Republicans who say, yeah, I'm going to sign on to this, and even some more hardliners who say that they will do this. However, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene has also pointed out that Trump is using her as an example. If you start to speak out against him, it is possible that he's going to come after you the way that he is now coming after me. So she even herself is saying maybe the numbers are not going to be as high as we once thought. But the fact that Speaker Johnson is going to try and bring this up onto the floor to make sure it has a 2/3 majority, it's still putting Republicans on the record, even if it doesn't pass.
You could still vote against the president, though, without sort of doing what Marjorie Taylor Greene has done. She's sort of gone out there, but that's why the roll call is going to be interesting, particularly for Republicans like Ashley Hinson, for example, from Iowa, who's running for Senate. This is becoming an issue in the 2026 campaign. So I think it'll be interesting to see how many Republicans support this without ever sort of really talking about it publicly. I mean, the president can't attack everyone to the degree that he's done Marjorie Taylor Greene.
But that's why the Democrats force this to not be a voice vote, which is what the Republicans try to
roll call.
They want everybody
on the record, them on the record,
yes.
So then this will be an issue in the campaign.
For sure.
There is one thing that Republican lawmakers are more scared of than President Trump, and that's President Trump's base. And right now, Trump and his base are not on the same page about this issue and a number of others, and that is going to have an impact on how they vote.
She talked about Marjorie Taylor Greene, H-1B visas and other issues that Trump is breaking with his base on.
That's the beauty of capitalism, baby. Trump is first and foremost a capitalist. And all the culture war stuff is supposed to be used as a distraction. That is the job of the culture war stuff. So when push comes to shove, of course he is going to abide by his capital owning masters. When it comes to H-1B visa stuff, like until it becomes a fully fascist movement, is usually just a not like a foundational principle necessarily, but or doesn't have the highest degree of priority amongst the American right-wing party. It is a galvanizing factor. It is very divisive. It's very successfully utilized. But at the end of the day, these guys, Donald Trump and everybody else, cares primarily about making sure that their capital owners are making money. That is the primary purpose. So a lot of people who are maybe some real ass racists are going to look to the situation and go, "What the f is this, bro? Why aren't we getting the treats? You said we were going to get the. Why is that not happening? Why are there still, Indians coming into the country and shit like that?" President Trump on the Epstein files. House Republicans should vote to release the files because we have nothing to hide. As I said on Friday night aboard Air Force One, the fake news media, House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files. Yeah, Zinwa coffee is my favorite. House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide, and it's time to move on from this Democrat hoax perpetrated by radical left lunatics in order to deflect from the great success of the Republican Party, including our recent victory on the Democrat shutdown. The Department of Justice has already turned over tens of thousands of pages to the public on Epstein and are looking at various Democrat operatives, Bill Clinton, Reid Hoffman, Larry Summers, etc., and their relationship to Epstein, and the House Oversight Committee can have whatever they are legally entitled to. I don't care. All I do care about is that Republicans get back on point, which is the economy, affordability, where we are winning big. Our victory on reducing inflation from the highest level in history to practically nothing, bringing down price for the American people, delivering historic tax cuts, gaining trillions of dollars of investment into America, a record. The rebuilding of our military, securing our border, deporting criminal illegal aliens, and ending men and women's sports, stopping transgender for everybody, and so much more. Nobody cared about Jeffrey Epstein when he was alive, and if the Democrats had anything, they would have released it before a landslide election victory. Some members of the Republican Party are being used, and we can't let that happen. Let's start talking about the Republican Party's record-setting achievements and not fall into the Epstein trap, which is actually a curse on the Democrats, not us. Make America great again. That's a very strange shift in confidence. Is either a bluff or they just agreed on a way to cut the nasty shit about him out. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they on background were able to find a way to cut this shit.